Hola estudiantes, este video se llama Subjunctive Stem Changers. The present subjunctive has stem changers, but they have different rules than stem changers in the present indicative. Rule number 1. AR and ER verbs have the same stem changes as present indicative, but they are boot verbs. You remember the shape where we have the yo, tú, usted, él, ella, and the ellos, ellas, ustedes form inside of the boot, and the nosotros and vosotros outside, meaning they don't stem change in nosotros and vosotros. So here are some examples of some AR and ER stem changers. Here's an E to an IE stem changer, cerrar, which means to close. So the E goes to IE inside of the boot, and it does not change outside of the boot. Here's an example of a U to a UE stem changer. Jugar, which means to play. U goes to UE inside of the boot and stays as a U outside of the boot. Here's some examples of O to UE stem changers. O goes to UE inside of the boot, and outside of the boot, it stays as O. Volver means to return. Resolver, the O changes to a UE inside of the boot. Resolver means to resolve, and it stays as an O outside of the boot. Now, as practice, I want you to conjugate the verb encontrar in all of the forms. Remember that O goes to UE inside of the boot, and it stays as O outside of the boot. If it would be helpful to you, you can draw boots around your conjugation charts, if that'll help you visualize it. So, unlike AR and ER stem changers, rule number 2, IR stem changing verbs follow the same pattern as the present indicative for all the forms except for nosotros and vosotros. So they're kind of like boot verbs, but they're different because they change to one letter. So here are some examples of IR stem changers. Here are verbs that go from E to IE inside of the boot. So this is for the boot. And then they go to I outside of the boot. So take a look. Divertirse. E goes to IE inside of the boot. And it does make a change outside of the boot, but just one letter. Here's another, and divertirse means to have fun. Here's another example. E goes to IE. So the E goes to IE inside of the boot. And then outside of the boot, it goes to an I, just an I. Here's an example of an O to a UE. Inside of the boot goes O to UE. Outside of the boot just goes to U. So take a look. The O goes to a UE in the boot and just to a U outside of the boot. So now, just for another practice, I want you to conjugate the verb morir in all of the forms. Remember, O goes to UE in the boot, and it goes just to U outside of the boot. Rule number 3. IR verbs that change E to I in the present indicative have the same stem change. How nice. In all of the forms of the present subjunctive. So here are some examples of some E to I IR stem changers. Check this out. The verb pedir, E goes to I, in all of the forms. So it's not a boot verb, it's just a rectangle. Seguir, E goes to I inside of all of the forms. So another rectangle. Just as a practice, I would like you to do the verb elegir. So the E is going to go to an I in all of the forms. Another rectangle. This is how all the E to I IR stem changers work. Oh, and by the way, elegir has a spelling change. The G goes to J. So you can include that in all the forms as well. Couple definitions if you don't know them. Pedir is to ask for. Seguir is to continue or to follow. And elegir is to choose. Now your check for understanding, I want you to completely write out these 3 sentences and conjugate in the subjunctive where the blank is and finish the sentence. Espero que los ciudadanos, I hope that the citizens, then I want you to conjugate elegir here for ciudadanos and then finish the sentence. Elegir means to choose. So I hope that the citizens choose what? Finish the sentence. Es importante que tú invertir en. It's important that you invest in. So I want you to conjugate invertir here in the to form in the subjunctive and then finish the sentence. Y finalmente es bueno que el estudiante seguir. It's good that the student continue or follow. So conjugate seguir right here for el estudiante and again finish the sentence with something logical. Vamos a practicar más en clase. Hasta luego.